Hey, what's up? What's up? You see the agenda up there? It is Tuesday, September 9th. Never back down. Never give up. Okay, you know what it is. Pause the screen if you need it. Mr. Farr is moving forward. Make sure to write that in your agenda. We are having a journal check on Friday. So as you can see, we already started on the speed formula there. We did motion, we did weight, we did math. So we've already started working on some of these things. We already did entry activity number 5. So make sure you're writing your agenda and get all those things done. Again, we are having journal check number 3 on Friday. Moving forward, we talked about this yesterday. I just wanted to make sure you guys were good. Just remember this about science and math. They're like cousins and they are integrated and they cannot be separated. And remember this as well, that the things you're learning in math you need in here. Okay, so understand that the stuff that you're learning in math, this is why these concepts here that were taught like a few years back, you need them now. And that's how science is going to be. You're going to need those things. So make sure you're learning and doing your best in your other classes, because you're going to need writing skills, you're going to need reasoning skills, you're going to need all kinds of things from all the different classes. All right, let's keep it moving. Yesterday we talked about this. So what is motion? Think about that. Let me know. What is motion? Motion is, right, the change in an object's position with respect to time. How long did it take for that object to go from one position to another? And again, we use reference points. Usually we have something like a starting position or starting line and a finishing position or finish line. All right, cool. This is what I want you to do is pause the screen and calculate the speed of Kenny Bernadette. He's from the USA. He's right here. He's number 7. Again, pause the screen and then calculate the speed of Kenny Bernadette. His name incorrectly. It's Kenny Bernarek. My bad, y'all. Calculate his speed. All right. Have you calculated his speed? So remember this. This is the formula for speed. This S is speed. Okay, cool. Right there. And then the D stands for distance, and then the T stands for time. So in this case, the distance is still 100 meters, and that actually can be seen right there. And then we just need his time, which his time is right there. So we're going to divide that by 9.88 seconds. All right. So cool. So let me go ahead and get the handy dandy calculator right there. Boom. I think I got the calculator on the other screen. Bam. I did not already calculate it. In the other class, we calculated someone else's speed. I let them pick. So 100 meters divided by, again, this is just divided by 9.88 is equal to, and we'll go with 10 point, let me get that calculator back up. Hold on. We need to do some rounding here. So we're going to round to 10.1. So that is a little bit slower, and that's why he did not win the race. And we're going to go 10.1 meters per second. It's just a little bit slower. And again, remember that first place, it's a 1/10 of a second slower. That is how it is. So just remember, he's just going just a little bit slower than Noah Lyles, who won. This race was extremely close. Now, hopefully by now, you should be able to calculate speed and feel comfortable with that, whether we're calculating the speed of a car or an airplane or whatever it is. As long as you know you have distance and you divide that by time, should be good to go. Make sure to write everything down. If you're like, oh, I didn't know what to do, make sure you copy all of this down. That way you have practice problems inside your journal. Okay, cool. Now, transitioning. So let's just move forward. So what is this? This is called a digital scale. Okay. And what I want you to write down is this part right here. Digital scales. What are they used for? Digital scales are used to obtain the mass of small objects. Digital scales usually will look like either one of these. Every scale is very similar, and they're going to use this unit known as grams. And they're going to find, again, it's finding the mass, okay? So this scale, a lot of times we think of scales, we think of weight, but this digital scale that we will use in here is to find the mass of an object in grams. And as you can see, it reads 000 right there. And every single scale you will ever use, you first have to zero it. Then you can move on to using it. Also, here is a nice warning. You don't have to write this down, but right here it says, placing heavy objects or pushing down on digital skills in this class will permanently damage them. So do not do that. And what I would like to say is treat them gently with respect. Again, treat them gently with respect. They are not for heavy objects. They are for much smaller objects, and we're going to find the mass of smaller objects. Okay? Cool. Let's move it along. On to the next one. All right. Now, here's a different set of scales. What do you think these scales are for? And what do you think they're called? Hopefully you said something like a spring scale, maybe hanging scale, something like that, right? So this is a spring scale. All I want you to do is write down this first portion right here. Spring scale is used to measure the weight or the force of an object, and I'm going to put the actual unit right there, and that big N stands for newtons. Okay? Newtons. All right? So a spring scale is used to measure the weight or the force of an object. So a spring scale usually hangs, right, like you see right here, and it lets gravity pull down on the object, right? Some spring scales have a slider and response, but again, most of them, if you look at them, you'll be able to see the force in newtons, because newtons is measuring force, and usually it's the force of gravity either pulling down or if you use it to pull across, okay? All right, cool. Now, what is newtons, what is this used for? And again, we just talked about that. I do just want to just look at the reading of them real quick. Hold on, let me change off of this so that you can see this a little bit better. This one reads newtons 0 to 5. This one reads newtons 0 to 10. And this one reads newtons 0 to 30. Now, if you look at each one, you really got to look at these lines in order to know how to read the device. So you got to pay attention. So if this is 5 right here, what number do you think this line is? Hopefully you said 4. So then that would be 3, and this would be 2, and that would be 1, and then 0. So each one of these lines is worth 1 newton. That reads differently than over here on this one. So if you look at this one, from 1 to 0, there is about 4 lines. So it's going to be 0.2, 0.4, 0.6, 0.8, and then this is going to be the 1 newton. So just remember, like, each one's going to read a little differently. If you look over here, there's about 9 lines before. So it's going to be like 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, 0.4, 0.5, and then it's going to read so on and so forth, 0.6, 0.7, 0.8, 0.9, and then you get to 1. So again, you've got to read each scale individually as they might read slightly different. Okay, cool. What I want you to do is go ahead and read this whole thing. So pause the screen, open up your scientific notebook. You could read here or in your scientific notebook. This is what we are going to do some work on today. We're going to do part 2 in the class. I'm going to make a video, and it will be part 1 and part 2 of this lab together in one video. It'll just be the lab video. But I'm going to finish teaching like I was teaching everything else, and then I will post a lab video for this tomorrow because the lab's going to go over 2 days. All right. So we already talked about that. Cool thing about the lab, whenever you first come in, don't touch anything. Number one thing about the lab, when you first come in, don't touch anything, because you never know like how things are supposed to work or what's supposed to happen. Everything is set to what we would call step 0. And you're like, what is step 0? Step 0 is the step I'm on. That's the step I am on. So I'm on step 0, and we will come into the lab at step 0, and when you leave the lab, you will also be on step 0. So the next set of students will be at step 0 and ready to jump at step 1, right? Step 0 is the lab prep, and the lab's all set up. So just know that. So students did a really awesome job today at doing 2 things. Number 1, they didn't touch anything when they came in. They just came in, went to their seats, did all the stuff they were regularly supposed to do. So if you just follow the regular routine of the class, you should be good. And then after that, we walked through the whole thing, and then they returned everything to step 0. So everything how you see it, how you see the lab set up, I usually will have pictures up here, and I will show that on the screen and be like, all right, it's time to go back to step 0 and get that up out of there. So again, we're going to do part 2 of the lab today, and then we'll do part 1 tomorrow. I will post a video tomorrow that is just the whole lab, part 1 and part 2, just by itself. All right. Last thing is this: I'm smarter than I think, I am braver than I seem, I'm stronger than I feel, and I can do difficult things. All right, y'all. Peace.